As we continue our trotting across the globe this season, we trade in the fields of Silverstone to the twisting technical layout of South Africa's most famous racing circuit, Kyalami. Welcome everyone to round 3 of the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Sprint Championship. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the booth by Jesse Lee with our director and producer Mike Yao behind the scenes. And Jesse, Kyalami is a track that, well, we don't see a whole lot in real life, but on the sim, it has been given a new breath of life here. And for these drivers today, it is going to be an absolutely incredible challenge.
Yeah, it sure is, DJ. Hello, everybody watching at home. Glad to have you all with us as we visit South Africa. And right you are about this racetrack. It is a fantastic world circuit, and it might be in South Africa, but everybody loves this place. It's hard to find anybody that has anything really to complain about. It's a lovely track, breathe new life into, and we get to enjoy it here today as well.
Yes, indeed we do. And as we said, this is the third round of our championship here today, which means we do have some point standings to be able to go over as things run. But first, let's take a look there at the entry list. The usual gang, they're up at the top. Chris Sever up at the top there. Josh Staff and Daniel Oliveira, always drivers to watch out for. Philippe Samard as we continue to look our way across. So many names, Jesse, that every single week seem to be as if they could be the ones to challenge for the lead of the race.
Yeah, it sure is. Look no further than Luke Whitehead, Gregor Schill, but the big thing for me looking at the entry list here, DJ, this week is George Boothby's back. Cleared from his illness a month ago. He's back in the cockpit, and prior to that, he was having a fantastic run of it. Can he get back to form today? I suspect he will.
I think he will as well. As we continue to look down over the field there, as you can see, a great disparity among all of the cars being chosen out there today. Everything from the Lamborghinis to the BMWs to the Porsches to the Bentleys to the McLarens. Absolutely everything out on the track. And we're going to see how this plays out for everyone as we run. Now, we mentioned as we go today, qualifying just about done here, but let's go ahead and take a look at those championship standings here. First off, in the silver category, it is Chris Harteveld. They're leading the way over Gabriel Philippe. Luke Southall also there in third place, although it does look like Harteveld has pretty much a stranglehold on that silver class as they run.
Certainly is the case. While the championship might be a little bit out there, don't think that won't change or could change here today. And of course, they pretty much from third place all the way back to about 6th in the silver category. Very close indeed, just a handful of points. And with a bunch of points on offer today, that's certainly going to continue to be very interesting. Moving on to the Pro Championship, Luke Whitehead, the GTWR R8G Academy car, has done a fantastic job thus far. 64 points to their team. Gregor Schill, of course, 8 points out of the championship lead. And of course, as we see with every championship, DJ, they just get closer as we go back through the field.
Yes, they do, and drivers here are going to be looking for absolutely any point that they are going to be able to pick up over the course of the running. It's going to be very, very crucial here. Only 3 rounds left to go as we stand in at the championship, and drivers are in store for, as we've seen over the course here, an hour race. They have qualified here, just waiting to get going. But, you know, Jesse, this is a track, as we said, that may not be familiar with everybody out on the circuit. So let's hop over to our BMW Track Genius Hot Lap, driven wonderfully by Bruno Spangler. He's going to give us a little bit of a run through of what this circuit is like.
Hi, I'm Bruno Spangler, BMW M-Works driver. I'm your track genius for today's race. Today I'm going to show you around beautiful Kyalami. Let's go. So first fact about this track, which makes it very different to a lot of other tracks, you're at 1,400 meter height. So this takes away a lot of grip because you lose a lot of downforce. You lose like 15% downforce and you lose also engine power. This changes a lot, the grip level, the way you approach the corners. Also in general on this track you have a lot of elevation changes with a lot of blind corners. Here, for example, you know, it's a slow corner going uphill, you need to be early on the power. to make sure you carry the momentum with you up the hill. After this corner, there's a chicane combination where you have to be slow in, fast out. Again, elevation changes here, goes downhill, then back uphill. And then after, you have a totally blind braking. So this is what I was talking about. Here you brake totally blind on the right side, kind of hope for the best on the braking. Car is a bit unstable, it's a very slow corner. Here we come to the Cheetah Corner. The curb inside is very high, so you have to be very precise on the turn in, be as close as possible to the curb without taking it. And here we are, these are the specifications of this beautiful track in Kyalami. So guys, I hope you're ready, because now it's your turn. See you next time.
And again, a massive thank you there to BMW Esports and BMW Sim Racing for putting that together. A quick little look at the track there, Jesse. Definitely on the technical side, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a couple of fantastic opportunities here to overtake, specifically those for the brave at heart.
No, absolutely the case. Did you see how close he was getting to running off the racetrack, maximizing space? You can make up time by doing that. It's the old saying, he who dares wins, and certainly the case there. Well, that's a genius indeed.
Genius indeed, and thank you once again to BMW for giving us that track guide, and thank you to Bruno Spengler. Also, just want to give a quick reminder here and thank another one of our partners, Lamborghini Esports, as they've got an event coming up, and I believe we've got a little bit of a preview to show you coming right now. And thank you again for Lamborghini's continued support of the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Championship. We are so pleased to have them on board. And well, Jesse, as we start to look our way down the grid, it is a name that we are very familiar with up at the top. George Boothby coming back into the series, able to put that Porsche right on pole. Another great run, though, there for BMW and that VS Turner team, being able to get themselves up into third. A little bit surprising to see the Bentley up there in fourth behind the wheel of Rodriguez, but some good running there all the way down. This is going to make for a certainly interesting field as it goes.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's all the usual suspects, really, isn't it, DJ? Up front, George Boothby, of course, marking his return after an illness kept him out of Silverstone round 2 of this championship. He's back and in full force. Absolutely no rust on the Oz Heat rig. That's for sure. Hartveld up front as well will share the front row, the top running silver driver. No wonder he's your championship leading driver in that category. Gregor Schill will have liked to have started on the front row, but still starting in front of Whitehead, which would have been his #1 priority. Now he's got to figure out how to keep Boothby behind him, because George Boothby is the kind of driver that can sneak up on you late in a championship. And after we throw the checkered flag here today, DJ, there's only 2 rounds left.
Yeah, indeed, only 2 rounds left as we continue to work our way back through the grid, looking there at Konachoglu back in 17th. And I think that time there for the drivers, knowing that time is running out on this sprint championship, is really going to amp up the stakes here for them. They're going to see a lot of more, maybe aggression coming out of these cars as they run. Look for some moves going down into Crowthorne. That first corner, the left-hander here to start off the lap, drivers are going to really be looking to try to gain as many positions as possible, and really only an hour to do so. Not that much time when we talk about the world of GT racing. We're so used to seeing races go on a little bit further. The one thing to throw into the mix here is that mandatory pit stop that all drivers must take over the course of the race during the mandatory pit stop window. So that is certainly going to be a little bit of strategy, I think, that we see play out for these drivers.
Yeah, and we have over the course of this season thus far, the 2 rounds that we've ran, we have seen some drivers roll the dice and take tires and do some strange things. In some cases, especially at Zolder, I felt like it worked pretty decently. Silverstone, maybe not so much. I think we had less risk takers in that race as well. One thing's for sure, you were talking about the 56 Porsche, Michael Kondaksioglu. Nowhere near where I expected that car to qualify outside the top 15. Absolutely work to do for the 56, but I think you're going to see him get it done. Watch for that particular car to come through the field. You know, DJ, this is a track that you can race on, but also, more importantly, in my personal experience, it's a racetrack you can get in trouble on. If you get ahead of yourself, if you get too much in a hurry, you can find yourself on the receiving end of a nasty accident. You got to be careful. You got to stay vigilant.
Yes, you do, as we take a little bit of a look there of the aerial perspective of the track. Really, your best overtaking opportunity probably going to be going down into that first corner, the left-hander, although we've seen plenty of aggressive moves going through Sunset, maybe a little bit going into the final corner as well. And I've got to agree with you there that it is one that is ready to catch you off guard if you are not ready, Jesse. And that really, as a driver, changes things up. It changes your mentality when you think about the fact that this track is willing to gobble you up. You're not going to be nearly as aggressive as maybe you want to be on some other circuits that have a little bit more leeway.
Oh, 100%. And these drivers are the best of the best to ever do it here on ACC. They know that. And, well, I know that too from the commentary position. There is not a single corner on this racetrack that I have not seen some form of incident, usually throughout the course of a race. You have to remain vigilant. You have to keep up with the racetrack. Keep up with your car as well. It's a little bit more important here than it would have been last time out at Silverstone as well. And of course, because these drivers likely have less reps here, they're probably a little less proficient as well. And all of that together, 2 into 1, 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide down into Crowthorne lap 1.
Yeah, indeed. It is a pretty wide corner as they run, and this whole track does have some wide opportunities, although it narrows up massively as you work your way up to the sweep into Barbecue there, which our leaders are just going by right now. So it's very much a track where you've got to kind of pick your poison, pick the area where you want to try to get those moves done. But again, a very, very large field here today, and I think that also has to play into the driver's mind. So many cars out on track. I think for some of the drivers starting farther back in the field, you've got to have your eye ahead, not necessarily to try to get an attack on, but to be watching out for any incidents that may occur on these opening couple of laps.
Do also keep in mind Schill, Rodriguez, and Whitehead. They're starting 3rd, 4th, and 5th, respectively. Those are your top 3 in the championship. Igor Rodriguez is 20 points off of Luke Whitehead for the Pro Series Championship, but you know as good as I do, you have one bad race, you finish well down the order, or even worse than that, maybe don't get points because you don't finish in the points. It can all change for Luke Whitehead. Whitehead has to be on top of his game today. Schill, of course, winning the opening battle, but George Boothby making the biggest resurgence. You know, we could be talking about Boothby in a week or two from now winning this championship. Not quite in it right about now, down in 6th place, but all the big hitters up front, the top 3, like we said, starting almost nose to tail in that little clump inside the top 5. It's going to be an interesting start.
It's going to be a very, very interesting start, especially with Hartwell there in the number 57, starting off on the front row. We've talked about that. He is, let's not call it out of position, because we've seen him be able to slice and dice with the gold category over the course of the run here, but the silver driver, he's got some breathing room back to Inostra there, and that's going to be a huge help to him. I think he's not going to have to push nearly as hard as he wants to try to hold on to the win in silver class. Yeah,
do bear in mind, silver doesn't necessarily mean that there's a pace deficit there for Hartveld in the 57 or any of the silver drivers. That's not entirely accurate, but Hartveld, of course, already had experience a week or so ago in this championship leading one of the races. I don't know if they won overall. I don't recall the exact finishing order, but of course you don't get more points for that, but even still has experience up at the front of the field. George Boothby, Hartveld, Schill, Rodriguez, Whitehead, Hendrickson, your first several rows as we get ready to go green. DJ, take it away.
We pull our way on to the start-finish straightaway here. George Boothby having control of the field, waiting for the green flag to wave in the air as we cross over, and we are still waiting under the long pit straight here, holding it out. I see green in the back. I see green in the air. We are racing in Kyalami. It's a good start there for George Boothby, immediately going a little bit defensive. That looks like Schill trying to challenge to the inside there. Maybe a little bit of bumping and banging as they go down into Crowthorne here. Everybody looking like they're starting to sort themselves out a little bit. 2, 3, 4 wide through the rest of the field, and now the track narrows up. This is where it gets a little bit tricky.
It sure does get tricky as they go up the Jukeski Sweep and into Barbecue and now into Sunset. They will want to have sorted it out by now. The first couple of rows have just done that, but everybody else still fighting for a position. You can get yourself into trouble going 2 and 3 wide through this corner, but I think they're just about going to do it. Down to 2 wide coming through Sunset, and now Clubhouse Bend. Everybody running incredibly wide, maximizing the track, and right here, absolutely imperative to be single file down through the S's, but they're not, look.
No, they are not. That's Harry Spears and Pfeiffer there getting a little bit side by side, banging into each other with the Bentley and the Mercedes there as they go. It does look like Pfeiffer's going to lose out a little bit. Nostra there trying to see if he's going to be able to force his way by in that Porsche. Pfeiffer, as he goes. Pfeiffer doing a good job to hold on to that position as best as he can in that 324.
Wow, there's a lot of good racing here. I don't think we've had a single major yellow, but just as I say that, I thought I saw a car go off there briefly for a moment, but never mind. Good racing here on the very first lap, and considering they were very much 4 wide to start this race, it's all gone so well. A couple of cars going wide, and Cheetah Ingwe proving no problem, and we have just about survived the first lap. Chris Severt up into P9. That is a beautiful car for Team Severt Racing.
Yes, it is. You and I were talking about just how pretty it is and some of those retro vibes on the number 3 before the race as it goes for Team Severt Racing as he works his way up ahead trying to close down to the 324. This is going to be Mike Fritz on Pass on DeGrasse Racing, the number 22, driving that Acura. Looks like he's had a problem coming out of Ingwe there, but up front, it continues to be Boothby. But I'll tell you what, that is Schill looking like he is trying to put the pressure to the back.
Yeah, Schill's got exactly what he wanted out of that start. He gained positions. Obviously, Hartveld behind him now. So Schill up to P2 was the quickest on that first lap, but I wouldn't have had to have had the confirmation to know that because he is all over the back of George Boothby. Remember, if Schill wins this race, he might be able to take the championship points lead.
He might indeed as we jump back here in a little bit farther in the field here. The Madhouse Racing 898 trying to work their way up by the number 9 machine of Cody Blanton in that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo for Race Anywhere SimSport as they go. We follow Felix here as he works his way up at the crest of the hill, going through this left-hander that is about the halfway point on the lap. Not a lot of passing going on as they run, trying to see what he can get.
A little bit of concentration by Tavinzwa Hacker there, making sure that they're minding the track limits. We didn't really talk about it too much because we didn't really have a lot of time, but let's talk about it now. The run through Crocodiles, Cheetah, and Ingwe, some of the most dangerous and infamous corners on any race course.
Yeah, indeed. Very easy to slip up there a little bit, but Gregor Schill here, the BS Turner Motorsports driver, looking a little bit aggressive on your leader of George Boothby. The BMW going to try to send a move around the outside here, going down into Crowthorne. They're going to be side by side. The Porsche trying to force that BMW a little bit wide. It's not going to work out here quite yet for Schill, but the attack is on.
Well, the BS Plus Turner Motorsport car definitely looks to have a little bit more grip, a little bit more pace than the Yas Heat Porsche right now, and that's exactly music to Schill's ears. George Boothby is going to have to revert to defensive driving. He doesn't have to do a lot of this, does George Boothby? Normally, he's able to just sort of set sail, but not so much today, as it looks like he's going to be challenged in a big way. And don't look past Hartfeld. Chris Hartfeld's still there. Luke Whitehead getting challenged as well, and now a defensive move in the background from Whitehead, just about fends everybody off for the time being. Actually, the Bentley's gotten through. Rodriguez is into P5, Hendrickson 6. My goodness, they are all still together here.
Yeah, there is no separation of that battle continuing to rage there behind, with Rodriguez and Hendrickson trying to figure out where they're going to slot into line. It does look like it. We've had a little bit of a problem in the back here for Timothy Flamger, the Alpha Sim Sports driver there. Looks like he has had an off in that Audi, the lone Audi in the field, I believe.
Well, Timothy Flamger has had nothing but bad luck in this series, and unfortunately that has controlled his championship hopes, and that has unfortunately carried into South Africa today as well.
Yeah, unfortunately it has, but one driver who is having fortune smile upon him today is George Boothby, the Yas Heat driver, holding on to the lead here. Gregor Schill trying to close in behind in that BS Plus Turner Motorsports BMW, looking to see if they can get anything here on the main straightaway. Defensive move. Oh, that was close. And back in the back here, Florian Durkop having a little bit of a problem. Looks like there's going to be some bumping and banging there with, I believe that is Gobi there in the number 49.
Something happened to Florian Durkop there and has put them in a world of hurt. Trying to go around the outside of Crowthorne. A little bit of fender banging from Elu Gobi, but I think they've just about fended it off, has Florian in the Unicorns of Love car.
Yes, indeed, and now it looks like Oliveira is going to say, I'd like a little bit of that as well, able to move himself up into 31st position, so a good run there for the number 88, it looks like, the 33, it looks like, as he runs. That'll be a good run there for Williams Esports. Be pretty pleased with that. We continue to focus on Florian, though, the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition machine, working its way around, trying to hold off in a little bit of an attack, jumping back up to the front of the field, though. Hardeveld here, your silver class leader, holding on right now. Yogo Rodriguez behind him, looking like he wants to put a little bit of pressure from behind in that Bentley.
Sure does, but when we last left Schill going down into Crowthorne, which is technically turn 2, the kink is turn 1 around this joint, so we left them into Crowthorne. I thought Schill went into the dirt to try and pass Boothby down the inside, but you clearly saw there, no success, no joy, still behind that Yas Heat portion. They are still line astern in the middle of this field. Pretty much from any vantage point, you can see the entire field still very close. You make a single solitary mistake, doesn't even have to be a big one, and you're in a world of hurt. Look at this, not defensive this time from George Boothby. Schill too far back this time.
Yeah, too far back there from Gregor, but you saw him poke his nose to the inside a little bit, going down into the corner, just seeing if he can elicit one of those mistakes there out of the 705, that Yas Heat Porsche up ahead of him, trying to see what he's going to be able to do as now they work their way. Try to go through here. The Mobileye Porsche in the back of the field. Mobileye with FFS Racing, with Philippe Simard trying to work his way around here in 11th place as they run. Trying to see if he can get a little bit of a move there on Pfeffer up ahead of him in that 324.
Always love the livery on that Mobileye BMW. What a beautiful car that is, and a nice partnership with FFS Racing. And Philippe Simard is having the race that they certainly deserve. And today, looking like they could get inside the top 10. I saw Tobias Pfeffer in P10, and just in front of them as well, Angel and Stroza in the 96 Porsche. That car started outside the top 10. They've worked their way into 9th, and if you look directly in front of that car, Chris Savert has the fastest lap. Oh no, the Canadian Elu Gobi has gone off.
Yeah, the Grip Packs Engineering, number 37, McLaren, having an off there out and into the grass. That's going to demote them all the way down through the field, it looks like, at this point. So a rough run there for them. We focus back now on Rodriguez. And remember, that Bentley trying to force its way forward. The number 124 Williams Esports machine trying to see if he's got a little bit to be able to pass the silver class leader here and maybe insert himself into the conversation for this battle for the top 2.
Igor Rodriguez has not backed down, and of course Rodriguez has got by, is still in front of Whitehead, that is. Some car there has fallen off. I don't remember which one it is, but pretty sure I saw Igor Rodriguez back in 5th place at one point, but nevertheless, the Williams Esports Chill Blast team absolutely going well in that Bentley. You didn't expect it to be going this well, but looks like Igor has it all under control.
Yes, indeed he does, as we check back on another one of the Bentleys in the field, this being Luke Southall there for the Delta Sport team, trying to close in on the back there of the number 54 Mercedes-AMG Esports team, HRT, as they run their way through the corners right now, but they've got to do a little bit of rear gunning as well, as that looks like the number 71. That's actually a battle for class that they have to worry about. Focusing here on Harry Spears, the Race Anywhere Sim Sports driver, up in 7th place right now. A good back and forth battle, trying to get ahead of Henderson and trying to hold off Sebert there behind him.
Sure is, and this battle's been going on since the start. All of these battles have been going on since the start, but they've been still trying to hold position. I talked a minute ago about one single solitary mistake. It doesn't have to be anything other than maybe not getting back to the throttle, a little bit of a loose condition, and certainly getting over the curbs in this section of the racetrack is a recipe for disaster. I am so very impressed so far. We haven't had any of that classic issues through the Crocodiles or any of the final sections that we normally would expect. Certainly only the one wide venture into Cheetah that we saw.
Yeah, only a little bit as they go, as we continue to follow here on the number 3, Chris, trying to see if he's going to be able to get anything past Spears. A little bit of a move there in the back. I believe that was Pfeffer trying to send a little bit of a move up to the inside of Ianostra as they run. Ticking down here, under 10 minutes down in this race. Here is Tobias Pfeffer trying to get a little bit of a move done on Ianostra, waiting to see what that Mercedes can do, trying to put some pressure to the Porsche. And as we've talked about, Jesse, sometimes all you've got to do is just keep poking your nose this way and that, try to force a little bit of an error out of the drivers in front of you.
You know, some drivers, they like to drive into the mirror, and some drivers pay attention more out of the mirror more than they do the windscreen, and I don't know how good that is to do in a race like this. I'm all for turning off the old rear view camera. All these cars will have rear view cameras, of course, these days, but I don't advise doing that. George Boothby, I can tell you, is not driving in that rear view mirror. He's driving out of the windshield of that car and has absolutely no interest in Schill behind. Calm and cool as a cucumber. Schill's just sitting there, though, plotting a move, waiting for a mistake. And again, if one were to occur, Schill's going to be in the best seat in the house.
Yes, he is, as we watch them there come out of the Crocodiles down into setting up for Cheetah as they run. The cars rebounding over the curbing there. You talked about the issues that can happen as they run through that area. Gregor Schill trying to get a little bit of a better run there out of Ingwe as they go. Here comes onto the straightaway as we've got our first penalty being issued by Race Control. Looks like a time penalty to the number 72. That's going to be Vinny Oliveira in the Bag Blue Snow Shatten Machine, the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. That is going to be a time penalty for causing a collision.
Yeah, and of course, as good as the start was, DJ, there still was contact. I expect to see maybe another one of those, maybe two coming out in the near future. Of course, we'll get those whenever they come through from Race Control. Working hard in the Race Control box, as per usual.
Yes, they are always doing a fair and decent job to make sure they've got everything down. You can see the concentration here from Boothby and Schill as they run, being very, very close. Looks like Boothby had a little bit of a tense moment there. You can see kind of a big breath as he came up over Barbecue. Maybe that Porsche getting a little bit rear end happy. We time to talk about the rear engine, rear wheel design of that car. Sometimes throws you around a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly can, and very early on in this race, it looked like the BMW had the better of them, the BS Plus Turner Motorsport car, but now it's gone back to Yazid. I think maybe they're just about dead even. One corner of the racetrack, I think, due to the engine layout, the Porsche will be better, and then the next, it's the BMW, though I feel like Schill had to get out of it right there, was practically running over George Boothby there.
Yeah, a lot of straight line speed being carried there for the BMW. Some more penalties being levied on down. This involving the incident between cars 88 and car number 1 on lap 1. That is going to be Nicholas Gonzalez for the Protocharge Sim Sports Bentley Continental GT3. That is going to be a time penalty to Gonzalez there for causing a collision.
Yeah, that was the one I was looking for, actually. I kind of alluded to something earlier. Didn't want to say anything out loud, but that was exactly what I was looking for. And there you have it. Cardin Liu in the 94 HPD Yaspro Honda Acura in this case. And that will be a very nice pass on Roberto in the 44.
Yes, it will. And to anybody wondering at home there, the difference between that Honda and the Acura, why we call it the Acura, is here in the States, that car is branded as an Acura. The rest around the world, it is branded as a Honda, so we will be referring to that as an Acura here as it runs. And Cardin Liu here just trying to hold off Roberto there in the number 44 for Williams Esports, trying to see what it can do. Two of the biggest teams here in this championship with Yas Pro and Williams Esports duking it out on track.
Yeah, I am so impressed with everybody so far. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It just goes on. It's like a carousel almost. The entire top 10 are still strung by a string and nobody giving up. If there was any doubt in the back of your mind that these were the best to ever do it in ACC, well, I hope now you have your answer. Of course they are. They are still nose to tail. Look at all those different manufacturers. The brand parity and the driver parity is absolutely fantastic up front, and nobody giving an inch.
Nobody give it an inch, but here comes the strategy, Jesse. The pit window is open and now will be open for the next 29 and a half minutes. Drivers are able to come down pit lane and get that little bit of mandatory fuel that they will need to finish out the race here. Now, as we've said, we don't anticipate there being any tire changes over the course of it, as looks like there is more problems there for the number 1 of Nicholas Gonzalez. A stop-and-go penalty actually being corrected there, not a time penalty, a stop-and-go there for the Protocharge Sim Sports driver.
Yeah, a little bit more severe than a time penalty, DJ. They must have re-looked at that or realized the mistake very quickly and corrected that. And unfortunately, it's just gotten worse for that team. But nevertheless, the adjudication has been handed down. And look at this battle here. This is Luke Whitehead continuing to work on Igor Rodriguez for P4. And by the way, I talked about it being almost musical chairs a moment ago. They're playing musical chairs with the fastest lap of the race. Igor Rodriguez has that right now in that 1-2-4.
Yes, he does. My trepidation there about driving the Bentley certainly coming out to naught here, as that car looks very, very quick. The 124 Williams Esports machine doing a fantastic job to be able to keep itself up. And look, threatening a little bit on the back of Hartfeld there as they go down into the Crocodiles, trying to see what can be done. But the top 3 here running very, very quickly. Again, Hartfeld is in that silver category, so he is not technically fighting with these guys, but he is under absolutely no obligation to get out of the way for any of these pro class drivers.
Let's go back to the start of the race, take a look at what happened on the initial start, and show you all the sights and the sounds from how we started off riding on board the Oz Heat George Boothby car, the 992, as it normally is. And this is not in this occasion. I just noticed it's a 75. But nevertheless, out braking and getting the inside was imperative to keep Gregor Schill behind them, as they're 2x2. And eventually Schill would take P2 from Hartfeld. In fact, we'll probably do it right about there. Just an excellent start from Schill and Boothby.
Yeah, really, really good heads up there from Schill in particular to be able to keep that car onto the inside of the racing line, not giving any room to that silver Porsche driver. Jumping back in the field here a little bit, this is the number 36. This is Jack Noller for Williams Esports Academy as he runs, as we can see, Jesse, I talked about it at the time, 3-4 wide going down into Crowthorne.
Yeah, and that's brave going around the outside. Noller, absolutely no fear. You got to have no fear, and you got to have a lot of trust as well to make those moves. Now, a move down into Ingwe around the outside, 3 wide.
Yeah, very aggressive. Ooh, and that was some of the contact there that we saw. I think that is what we actually saw the 22 being spun around on. And that's so that explains that situation for Mike Fritz. As we jump back up to this battle for the top 5, let's call it about the top 7 or so, 7 or 8. Absolutely throw a blanket over the top of them. Luke Whitehead here looking for a little bit of a run on Rodriguez to see if he can get anything on that Williams Esports driver going down into Crowthorne.
Luke Whitehead looking about as intense as anyone else. He felt the move coming from behind from Hendrickson and went ahead and just preemptively went down to the inside, fading off that move, and it would not come to pass. Whitehead looking as intense as I've ever seen him, knows what's on line today, and knows that he's going to have to continue up this pace and maybe get some passes done. Oh no, the Acura of Cardin Lou has spun, and that was a scary moment for the driver of the 94.
You know, I gotta say that's a little bit of a naughty rejoin there. These drivers are instructed to give space as they come back onto the track and make sure you are fully aware of your surroundings. And I'm not exactly sure the Cardin Lou there for the HPD Yas Pro team did exactly that. Oh, a little bit of a move here, a little bit of a move there, up for the lead of the race. Big send for the Bentley going down to the one side. The Williams Esports driver getting a little bit of bargy there with Hartfeld.
Who was that just went through? Was that Whitehead? Did Whitehead get through? They're 3 wide down through the line shaft. Will they get it sorted out in time? They will. Hartfeld took the brunt of that, losing several positions, but everything started with George Boothby whenever he slowed up for Leah Kopp, and Schill got into the back of him. Hartfeld got into the back of him. They all stacked up. That was the mistake I was talking about, DJ.
Yes, it was, and I want to give credit here to Harry Spears, who was able to move his way all up through the order there in the 285. That was pretty incredible there for the Race Anywhere SimSport driver. He is now up into P4, taking advantage of others' misfortune. Rodriguez, though, going to be the first driver that we've seen to be able to pop down pit lane.
That's an incredibly early pit stop, but we have seen a good selection of pit stops, and I think that actually might be a more defensive pit stop, DJ, than a offensive pit stop. I think Igor Rodriguez saw what was going on in front of him and said, it's not worth the headache, and has ducked down pit lane. And you never know, if you're quicker not running in the train, maybe it's a smart move, but unfortunately we won't know until everybody else comes in.
Yeah, we won't have that answer here at the most for another 24 or so minutes, as that is what is remaining here in the pit window as they run. Harteveld shuffled down in the order just a little bit, losing a couple of positions to Whitehead and Spears as they run. Again, Harry Spears with that absolutely mega heads-up maneuver through that big kerfluffle, coming down through mine shaft, able to take his way forward. Now, this has allowed for a little bit of a gap to open up between George Schill and Whitehead as they run. We ride on board with Gregor Schill as he tries to bring that VS Turner Motorsports machine down and closer to the back of George Boothby.
Well, I would like to say in Leah Kopp, the last time through, that was as close as they had ever gotten, but that would be completely untrue. They were side by side at one point, I'll remind you, but even still, definitely made contact, did those two cars. Schill got rear-ended as well. Whitehead again moved up to P3. You talked about Spears up into P4, but credit to Hartfeld, just absolutely was getting pounded on the back of that 57 and somehow was able to save it. 2 or 3 taps in Leah Kopp and was able to keep it straight.
Yes, he was, and a couple of more drivers opting to come down pit lane, including the 757 John Alesi Esports Academy driver of William Hendrickson, bringing his Aston Martin V8 Vantage down pit lane. Here's Chris Severt trying to get a little bit of a move on Hartfeld.
Oh, and they're going to be side by side, just about nearly behind them, as Chris Severt will take that spot away. Up to P5 is the Team Severt racing car, and now they scrap behind them, because whenever you make a pass like that, DJ, all you're doing is slowing yourself up, you're slowing your competitor up, and Tobias Pfeffer wants a little piece of that now.
Yes, he does. Pfeffer in that number 324 Mercedes-AMG Esports team, Unicorns of Love, trying to see what that AMG is going to be able to do and see if he can put himself into position here to challenge the silver class driver. Now, what's absolutely crucial here for Hartfeld is he doesn't want to lose that position, because Ian Nostra, second in the silver, is directly behind Pfeffer, and he does not want to lose that buffer that he has right now.
I didn't even realize that until you said that. That is a very heads-up play. Remember, Inestrosa was way back on this start, and they've been climbing up through the ranks, and with the contact Hartveld had, now has forced them several spots back, and they're in the danger zone of being overtaken for the lead in silver class.
Yes, they are. We talked a little bit about that earlier on, about how it was looking good for Hartveld, and now just losing out a little bit as he runs. And I've got to say here that Pfeffer certainly looking like he's got a pretty good run in that Mercedes-AMG, really hustling that car around here and trying to close in on the back of the Porsche. Looks like we've got another message from Race Control that cars 36 and 22 will be investigated post-race. Now, that is that incident that we saw coming onto the main straightaway with Mike Fritz and the number 36 of Jack Noller, that coming together that we saw out of Ingwe.
Yeah, it sure was. I was wondering how that Acura was backwards halfway down the pit straight, and I was going to lodge at the time that you only get that way if there's been contact. Had no idea what the contact was from, but obviously we saw from the replay of the start exactly what happened at the end of lap 1, so stewards are going to take care of that after the race today. Race on for the time being. And wow, what a first 25 minutes we have had here to this point. A little bit of contact, some bumping and banging, pretty much everything you expect out of a Kyalami race.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm amazed that we're already 25 minutes down. Where has the time gone? But I'll tell you one driver who is certainly hoping that that clock was a little bit closer to zero, and that is going to be the Yas Heat driver of George Boothby. And the number 75, currently out in the lead of the race right now, but he has been facing this entire race intense pressure from Gregor Schill behind him in that number 89 BMW, not letting up at all.
No, absolutely not letting up at all, as Schill wants this win. He wants to take control of this championship. He knows he can. Folks at home, here's what's at stake. George Boothby missed the Silverstone round of the championship. Didn't race a month ago in round number 2. This is round 3. George Boothby, by my math, by my measure, has to win one of these races to get back in it. It would be super critical for him to win this race today. Gregor Schill is not in that case. He's only 8 points out of the championship lead, but he has seen his competitor, his nearest competitor, Whitehead, catch up to him to this point. Schill would like to get around him and take the championship lead here today. And of course, Whitehead is in a position where you wouldn't want to panic too much. Look at this defensive line coming down through, and they just about go side by side before they end up single file once again. And this is why the urgency. This is Whitehead now.
Whitehead trying to get a little bit interested in the battle as they run. And as you talked about, Jesse, if you try to make that pass and it doesn't work out, but as close as these drivers are running to each other, you are going to run yourself into a little bit of problems. Now, we've got another fly in the ointment for these leaders as they run. George Boothby catching a little bit of lap traffic as Whitehead tries to send a big move down into Lukop there. Not going to be able to play out. He'll lose a couple of tenths, but he's got room over Harry Spears behind him.
He sure does. Lap traffic has been so cordial this season, I must say, and that's not something I think I would have said last year in this series, but this year has been so much better. Lap traffic playing their part and doing it very nicely. Now, just as I say that, might they do something out of spite to spite us here in the booth? Absolutely possible. But here's Harry Spears, who's going to duck down the pit lane, and I think that's a brilliant move. I actually really like that, DJ. I get excited for pit strategy, and I like that. Caught Whitehead and Schill and Boothby and said, I might be faster than these 3 lead drivers. I'm going to get my pit stop out of the way, hopefully get some clean air, and maybe take the lead with the undercut.
And that is that pit strategy as here comes Pfeffer trying to send a little bit of a move down to the inside there of Hartveld. Looks like he's going to be able to do it, but Hartveld's going to try for a little bit of the crossover here as they climb their way up the sweep, but it is all going to be for naught there for Hartveld. That is going to be Pfeffer up into P5 overall and P5 in the silver class category, and that means that Hartveld now is going to be directly in front of his silver class rival as they go. Nostra watching here as that is going to be Harry Spears coming back out of pit lane. He's got himself a little bit of clean running. Also getting a report there that you can see on your screen from race control that car number 19 and car number 707, no further investigation necessary. That's Flamger there for the Alpha Sim Sport machine and the 707 of Sean Piner in the Tritum Racing. Whoa, but we got to focus back in on the lead because I got to tell you something, Gregor Schill, I think he's had enough waiting around.
Well, I think Schill's better at that part of the circuit, the whole sector too, probably from Clubhouse all the way up to Leocop. And this is the point where it sort of equalizes. If he can get side by side with Boothby and chase him down into Mine Shaft and then the Crocodiles, I think he might have him, and he might have to do that. I was just going to mention about the Mercedes-AMG Esports Unicorns of Love team. Where's Tobias Pfeffer come from? Absolutely incredible drive here as of late, and I can't believe, as we still continue to watch the top 4 cars all go at it, that none of these drivers have pulled the trigger on coming into pit lane. Surely, if you're running 4th in this line, if you are Sievert, this might be the best time to come in.
It might be a little bit of action there in the back.
Or maybe not if you're going to do this.
Yeah, he's trying to make the move down to the inside there of Whitehead. He's going to have the line, tries to push that Porsche a little bit wide as they run. The Porsche responds in kind, trying to squeeze him, coming up into barbecue, but the Aston Martin there, not done yet. We're still side by side, Jesse.
Yeah, they're not going to be settled as they go into sunset this time, or maybe somebody will back out, and that is exactly what happened there. Sievert will take that position, and it will be surrendered by the 21 of Whitehead for the time being. Will we see a rebuttal in the Clubhouse? No, we will not. Done and dusted. I talked about Chris Sievert maybe coming in for pit strategy. He says, nope, I don't need strategy. I've got skills.
Well, and those skills, they're proving out very well as we've got more coming in from a very busy race control there. Cars 49 and 88. That incident on lap 5, a 15-second time penalty to the number 49 machine. That's a Lou Goby for the Grip Packs engineering team. That is going to be a 15-second time penalty there for that machine, and that's going to certainly hurt them down in the field. But we don't have too much time to focus on the penalties because here comes Schill trying to make a move to the outside of the Crocodiles. Little bit argy-bargy as they run.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. I just feel through the second sector that BMW is just a little bit more south. That probably started somewhere around Clubhouse of the S's, got side by side Leocop, lost it into Mineshaft, but slowed up Boothby enough that they had to run into the Crocodiles, and he's going to get a couple of more shots at that. If I'm George Boothby, I can't pit here. I talked about the drivers behind them thinking about pitting. Look at this, all the way down to the inside, off of the racetrack. Shield's going down to the inside of Crowthorne. He's going to do it. Chopped off. Shield's through. Here comes Sievert. Sievert's going to get 2 into 1. Flashing is Boothby up in the juke ski sweep, and it's going to be Sievert out in front. How did he do that?
Oh my goodness gracious, you are not going to see a bit of racing, and that's Schill under the wall. The BS Turner Motorsports driver up into the wall, and I think he's collected there. Your former leader of George Boothby, both of them making contact coming out of barbecue.
He's still in the wall. Gregor Schill is panicking. He is struggling to get that BS Plus Turner Motorsport car. He is frustrated. He is angry. You can see it in his mannerisms in the bottom third. And that is an angry driver. George Boothby pulled over. And that is the international sign of my bad. But the damage has been done. The former top 2 running cars are somewhere near the back of the pack. Huge championship implications here.
Oh my goodness gracious, you couldn't have scripted this to be any crazier, and now George Boothby finding himself all the way back down in 16th position behind Harry Spears, who has already pitted, mind you, so he is going to lose even more spots, having to come back down pit lane. Jesse, my goodness gracious, I can't remember a race with more drama in it.
No, this is high drama to say the least, and it's all unfolding here at the halfway. It was always going to be a big ask for Boothby to defend for what was effectively 1 hour at a time, and there you see the damage on that car. Pretty significant, I think we could all agree, and will be forced to pit this time. Gregor Schill, luckily, has a mandatory pit stop to do, but I'm assured they will look at that damage, and by my measure, that's at least 20 seconds or more of damage.
And their race control issuing another time penalty out as well. This one to Vinny Oliveira for the bag blue snow Shatton machine. They are given a time penalty. Looking down here as your former leaders come on into pit lane to take their repairs. All right, let's reset this for a second. It is Siebert there up front in the lead in that number 3 Team Siebert Racing machine. It is now Luke Whitehead in the number 21 for the GTWR-R8G Academy, holding on to P2 with Pfeffer in the 324 Mercedes-AMG Esports Unicorns of Love team, able to hold on to P3. So they are still running relatively close to each other, although Siebert does have a little bit of a gap of about a second as they run. Back and forth in 5th. That's the battle for the silver category. Hartveld and Nostra, we talked about that battle a little bit earlier. Hartveld losing that advantage, and now that battle is on for silver.
Wow, it certainly is. We have the top 2 in pro together, the top 2 in silver together. Hopefully the silver battle ends a little bit better than the one in pro did. Sievert leading this race. Now, who knows if they'll go on to win. It's 25 minutes, and Whitehead is still right there. We'll see how that all works out, but what a move. Sievert down into turn 2, Crowthorne. They're going to want us. I want a signed photo of that from Chris Sievert. That was textbook how you make a pass. You wait for them to make a mistake. They got into each other, and you take advantage, and that's what Sievert did. That's why he's the leader, and for my measure, he deserves everything he's got. Keep in mind, Sievert is not too far out of this championship yet. This could be a big day for him.
It very well could be, and with both, with Boothby and with Schill having problems as they go, it is certainly going to be a big change-up in the top of the championship order. We watch here, Angelia Nostra there for the Yas Heat team, the number 96 Porsche closing in on his fellow Porsche driver, Hartveld there in the number 57 as he works his way around, trying to see if they can close the gap. Under 10 minutes to go here in that mandatory pit stop window. So all of these leading drivers here are going to have to take their pit stops sooner rather than later.
Yeah, they certainly are, and we've seen a bit of a trend where a lot of them come in at the very end of the pit cycle. Sometimes when they get strung out, you'll see very differing pit strategy, but usually when it's very close like this, they will wait as long as possible. And it's always a case of who blinks first. Usually our final pitters are the ones that are up at the very front, and they try to come in with, less than a minute left to go. They time it down to the last. Flamger trying to go around the outside. Won't quite get that done. De Oliveira will hold that position for the moment.
Yes, he will, and I got to stay here. The Flamger's got to be a little bit careful because Josh Staffen behind him in that number 23 HPD Yas Pro America Acura looking very fast, being very aggressive. He's got to be careful about throwing those big moves down into the corner, as sometimes that can really lead to it. But again, he's going to keep poking his nose into De Oliveira there, and that's going to open up the door to Josh Staffen.
Staffen's looking down the inside. This isn't normally a passing zone. Usually it goes very wrong, but they just about get it sorted through the S's this time. That is always dangerous, trying to go 2 by 2 through there. Flamger gave him the lane, trusted him to not make a bad decision. Staffen, to his credit in that Acura, did not make a bad decision. Kept it on the curb there. Kept it out of trouble.
Yeah, kept it out of trouble there. Good, respectful racing among the drivers as they go. Now, these drivers have all made their pit stops already, so they don't have to worry about anything here. This is just truly a battle for position as they run and continue to work their way around. But that little battle between Staffen and Flamger has allowed for De Oliveira in the 33 Williams Esports machine to pull up ahead. But as I say that, look how good Flamger was onto the binders going through the final corner. We've got some more messages from race control. Looks like Gregor Schill has been giving a warning for failing to hold the brakes through that incident, and then a stop and go penalty to the number 75 to George Boothby in the Yas Heat machine for causing a collision. Bad day, going from bad to worse there.
Well, folks, if you were not with us and you don't know what the racing stewards are talking about with those incidents, let's show you the replay of how the mayhem unfolded between the top two.
Indeed, a very, very aggressive block there down onto the grass. Contact there between the 75 and the 89 as we run up the hill. We mentioned it earlier, Sievert just taking as much opportunity as possible, looking for the crossover there, and then contact right off of the corner, and that is what sent the two of them around, and that is what has completely changed the characteristics of this race, Jesse.
Yeah, it sure has. And might I just say, Race Control's absolutely nailed those penalties, in my opinion. And well, you do silly mistakes, don't you, when you're frustrated? I think we could all agree that Schill was very frustrated. And oh, by the way, for those of you wondering, the difference between a pit stop where no damage is about 28 seconds in the box. A pit stop where the Schill was dealing with that damage was 61 seconds. So I estimate about 20. Turns out it was about 22, 23 seconds worth of damage.
I would certainly say that is close enough for good commentators math there, Jesse, as we focus back in on your leader right now for the silver category as they run. Chris Hartveld here for the GTWR-R8G Academy, running a very clean race here. We kind of spelled some death knells out here for Hartveld earlier in the race, saying that Ian Oster was going to be able to catch him. Doesn't quite look like it. He's been able to hold a gap of about a second here as they run. Ian Oster just doesn't look like he's quite got the legs to be able to close in on his fellow Porsche driver.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Angel's not quite got... I mean, he's not really losing is Inestrosa. He's right there. Angel's not going anywhere. Hartveld, though, is certainly not being challenged like he was earlier on in the race by the predominant pro field up at the front of the field. So it's not quite like that. And Inestrosa, though, hanging around. And, well, we saw what Sievert did, didn't we? Just hung out in fourth place and ended up taking third, ended up taking the lead of the race. Now, keep in mind, some of the lead cars had pulled off to pit before then. What will happen when Whitehead, Hartveld, Sievert, and the rest do come in? They're due in the next 5 minutes. Actually, a little bit less than that.
Yeah, about 4 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock for that mandatory pit stop window that all drivers will have to come down. And by the way, that pink Porsche that you see driving behind Ian Oster as they go, that is actually Boothby there in the number 75. He is a lap down here, courtesy of those incidents and penalties that we had talked about a little earlier in the race. Let's focus down a little bit further in the field, though, as this is a nice little battle. Oop, we've got another time penalty being levied right now. This is going to go to Igor Rodriguez in the Williams Esports Bentley Continental GT3. Looks like that's going to be a 5-second penalty for causing a collision. We focus here on the Mercedes-AMG Esports Team HRT driver Leon Akaki as he tries to close in on the back of Kondachoglu up ahead of him.
Yeah, Leon Ataki, they qualified P19, so this is absolutely brilliant. Yes, they're the last of the cars that have not pitted yet, but even still, it's hard to think that they have not benefited from some of the chaos, rather besides, and Leon has done a great job staying out of that in the Mercedes-AMG Esports Team HRT, and they will certainly benefit. I know they're in 7th now. They will drop down several spots, but they still should be up from where they started.
Yeah, they should still be up in Kondachoglu. They're coming down pit lane, so this is going to free up some air here for Leon. We'll have to see if he can put that Mercedes-AMG GT3 through its paces here at this point, really try to get a good lap down. Here's a little bit of a battle going down further in the field. Pfeffer, Negrini, and Oliveira all running pretty close together.
I just love that Unicorns of Love scheme. I love that. It's just such a nice car, and I believe they have the jerseys to match over at Mercedes-AMG Esports. So lovely stuff, and nice to see Pfeffer running as well as they are. And remember, this was one of the very first cars that we saw come into the pit lane. And there it is. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, broadcaster. The shirt that matches the car. I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, I'd always love to see that sort of coordination there out of the teams, and it just goes to show the investment and everything that is being putting down into the world of sim sports. Absolutely incredible to be a part of it, I can tell you from my perspective. But Pfeffer here trying to close in on the back of Negrini. Negrini in the number 5, a silver class car driving for Bag Blue Snow Shatton right now in that BMW M4 GT3.
Well, the race does continue. The final few minutes to come in to get pit stops done, and almost everybody has decided to do that. Everybody but our leader, Chris Sievert. The number 3 is still out on the track. Whitehead, Hartveld, Inestroza are all in, and I wonder if Otaki, when they get there, yes, indeed, Otaki into the pit lane.
And it looks like here that we're going to have a couple of drivers opting to stay on out here as they go, and that's going to be a little bit close, I think, as they run. We see there the number 96 coming back down out of pit lane. Here is Rodriguez that we follow right now for the Williams Esports Chill Blast SRO team as he tries to work his way behind the fellow Bentley of Harry Spears up ahead of him. Both other of these drivers, they have made their pit stops, although Rodriguez does have a 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Certainly, we've not seen anything even remotely close to a 5-second gap thus far, DJ, and I don't think we are going to, and that will lose you quite a few positions, though I will say right now, Igor does have the better part of 3 seconds gap back to Whitehead, so if they can continue grinding that out, maybe we'll start to talk about it, but as of right now, losing at least, 1, 2, 3 positions now with that 5-second penalty.
Yes, they are, and it looks like here, now that everything has shuffled itself out, there is a more than likely possibility that the 285 and the 124 are going to inherit the lead of this race. That's Harry Spears and Rodriguez, as here comes Siebert coming down pit lane right now in that number 3 Team Siebert Racing Aston Martin machine. So we're going to have to see where Spears comes out in relation to this. This could be a big boon here to Harry Spears and the Williams Esports driver directly behind him.
Certainly could be. On the right, you see Sievert in the pit lane, down and gone pit stop. That looked like a routine stop to me. Coming out of Ingwe onto the pit straight is Spears and Rodriguez. The long run down the pit straight on the pit limiter. I'm pretty sure Harry Spears is going to take it, and it's not even that close. Spears takes first, and Spears takes first. Excuse me, Rodriguez will come out in second place. Did Sievert beat third out? I think he just did. Harry Spears, the race driver, is out in front. Sievert's all the way down into 5th now.
Oh my goodness, that is not a good run there for him whatsoever. That's going to put him in 5th, and that is going to be the 757 of William Hendrickson for the John Lacy Esports Academy directly behind him. So a disastrous run here for Chris Sievert. Remember, he was inheriting the run. Looks like he lost about 5 seconds in the pit lane.
I wonder what that was exactly. Maybe that was damage that was left unchecked. Hard for me to believe that you would repair any sort of damage considering how well the race had gone at that point.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there for that, as the stewards continuing to be busy here. Incident involving car 57 and 124. Looks like a penalty being given out there for that as well. Remember, the big story point right now is Rodriguez and where he's going to be able to find himself sorted out, because he does have that 5-second penalty. And I think if you are Philippe Samard for the Mobileye by FFS Racing machine, that is going to be a little bit of an impetus for here for him and Luke Whitehead to try to get themselves up and forward.
Another incident coming out from race control. Cars 8, 9, 8, and 15 on lap 15. Just a warning for the car 15 for that particular incident. But for Philippe Samard, the Mobileye and FFS Racing car, this BMW, man, they needed a good race, and they've certainly had it. Samard was absolutely on it from the green flag here today, and this might be even a bit more special for that entire team over there as they continue to pressure for P3, and I think they look very good for it right now.
Yes, they do, and I want to bring our attention back here to actually what's going on in front and behind of Fidel Moreira here. Angelo Iannostra has been able to get himself out and ahead of Chris Hartveld, and that is going to put him in the lead of the silver category. So the number 96 Yas Heat machine up into the lead of silver. That has changed the complexion of that race as we run.
Well, it has been a day. You could go back, and I will go back at some point, and I will watch this race again. This has been an all-time classic. Anybody out there listening, you might want to share this with your friends. They're going to want to see this. This race has been anything but predictable.
Yeah, and we still have about 12 and a half minutes left to go. Who knows what can happen as we ride on board with the Race Anywhere SimSports Lamborghini of Cody Blanton right here, trying to close down on Rupert and Choglu up ahead of him. Now, Rupert, a silver class car, not in position right now, so he is not actually battling him for class, but he'd like to be able to get himself by that BMW M4 GT3 and try to see if he can maybe put a attack here on Choglu. Meanwhile, we focus here on the Williams Esports Chill Blast driver of Igor Rodriguez. Remember that 5-second time penalty that he has to serve. I have got to think he wants to try to get by Harry Spears here, not for the race win, but to try to see if he can put a little bit of time between himself and Luke Whitehead and maybe get that 5-second gap to be non-existent and still finish on the podium.
Yeah, he's gained 0.3 of a second, has Igor Rodriguez, just in the last couple of laps, and he's actually gained another 10th in the third sector there. So that is all boding well, but if he could get by Harry Spears, you never know. I do feel like Spears is holding him up just a little bit. Keep in mind, Spears also was in one of the first cars that came in. Remember, Spears had caught up in the 285 Bentley to the back of the lead group, was in 4th or 5th, something like that, was one of the first to pull the trigger, came in very early, and I theorized that that might be the move. If they came out in clean air, they could be the driver in the catbird seat. They certainly had done that to this point. Just an excellently executed stop. Everything's gone well for Spears except right now, as looks like Rodriguez rather would like to get around.
Yes, he would. As we jump you back here to that battle that we were following, 16th overall right now, Felix Rupert holding off the attack of Choglu with Blanton behind them. That is shuffled around a little bit as they run. Remember, we talked about Blanton trying to get his way back by Rupert. It looks like Choglu has made a little bit of an error, and that has put this battle getting very, very close now as they run. The Ren Welton Esports driver now up into 15th overall.
Still the way they started the race, DJ, pretty much back here in the middle of the pack. They've not really sorted themselves out despite having a pit stop. You would have never believed it. If we told you we were 5 minutes into the race, it certainly looks like that has been the case. Back up front, Rodriguez, the Williams Esports Chill Blast Bentley, continuing to hound the lead car.
Yes, they are, as they continue on here, and we continue to watch here. Your top 6 all in the pro category right now. Angelia Nostra there in the number 96, currently leading the way for the silver class drivers for Yas Heat. That'll be a good result there if he's going to be able to hold on to that. Now, remember here that we've got plenty of interesting things to play themselves out as we check back in on that battle for 15th. Michael Choglu here for FFS Racing, trying to see if he can close down on the number 71. Now, that is not a battle for position. That is a pro versus a silver class driver, but Choglu wants to just get a little bit of buffer between himself and Cody Blanton in the number 9 Lamborghini, because Blanton looking very aggressive.
Blanton certainly doing that, looking to the outside there. Got a way better run off of that corner. Might be threatening to do the same off of this particular corner. Can't quite get that done as they race down into the world-famous Sunset, one of my favorite corners of any racetrack. And just about getting it done is Choglu, who is just about better than Blanton at this stage. But Blanton has made their point. They're looking to come through.
Yes, they are, as we now focus on one of the Mercedes-AMG Esports team, the Unicorns of Love team, the number 324, with Pfeffer behind the wheel off the car in a sandwich here of silver class drivers. That's Negrini there right up ahead of him as they run the Bagloo Snow Shatton driver, holding off the pro driver here very, very well, only about 0.5 of a second separating the two.
Like I said earlier, it's just like we started this race, not that we're about to finish the race. Everybody, the intensity is going to go up. Everybody's that's been squabbling the entire race. You got to have give and take in a race like this, as I just believe we saw Dornelis run off the racetrack there. That's so easy to do in Cheetah. One of the only few cars we've seen actually do that today. The drivers have taken that so very well, but don't let that misguide you. That is a very dangerous corner. But as I was saying, this race looks like it started 5 minutes ago, and the intensity has been ramping up all of the time, and eventually it's going to be no give and take, and it's going to be all take.
Yes, it is. One more incident there being levied out by race control. Incident between the 75 and the 89 in turn 2 will be decided post-race. That is going to be Boothby and Schill still having a look there at that incident. So maybe some more penalties coming down to those drivers as the live racing stewards here not exactly liking it. And another issue coming down, that is between the 23 and the 33. That's going to be De Oliveira and Josh Staffen. A warning given to the Williams Esports driver of Daniel De Oliveira.
Interesting couple of things coming through there. Obviously, race control wants another look at that incident that took out our previously top 2 running cars. Do you know, though, DJ, I've been thinking about it. With how they were going at each other, Schill and Boothby, I still think they would have lost out to Harry Spears in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. Harry definitely called the strategy here right today for the Race Anywhere Sim Sports team, and putting that Bentley, that number 285, into the position that he needed to do. He recognized coming up on the back of the pack that running in clear air was going to help out that Race Anywhere Sim Sports Bentley, and just did an absolutely good job of it. You see a little bit of a defensive move there trying to break the draft, I think, of Rodriguez. Or is he letting Rodriguez by here, actually? He knows there's a big enough of a gap. Yeah, he's going to let Rodriguez by. He knows that that 5-second time penalty to Rodriguez is going to basically allow him to win this race, so no point in fighting it.
Harry Spears just did one of the smartest moves. He's out here playing 4D chess with these guys. He knows that he only loses with Rodriguez right behind him, and as aggressive as Igor has been, he knows that if he can stay in the final 6 minutes within 5 seconds, it near as makes no difference if he finishes behind him. Harry Spears is going to be the eventual winner of the race. That is a big brain move late into this race. I love moves like that. That is the strategy play. That is the thinking man's play. Harry Spears doing the right thing, and also that will make Rodriguez happy because that kind of helps him, though I will say Whitehead has done such a good job of stabilizing that gap between Rodriguez and Whitehead, but still, all that still considered, it is hovering right around 5 seconds here with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, it looks like it's about roughly 4.1 seconds at the last time they crossed over the timing loop. Let's call that about 4.3, 4.4 seconds now. So inching closer and closer to that point. This is exactly what Rodriguez needs, and he is pulling away. This is good news for the Williams Esports Chill Blast driver.
DJ, just entertain me for a moment. There's no way Igor Rodriguez gets 5-second gap in 5 minutes, right? There's no way.
I mean, I would think he's not going to be able to do it, but he is putting in some pretty stonking lap times here. I mean, he's going to have to be about a second to a second and a half a lap faster than anybody else, and Harry Spears is going to have a massive drop-off to be able to keep things going. I think Rodriguez can maybe be able to claim second here, but I think first place, that's maybe a little bit of a bridge too far.
No, I would agree with that 100%. I just like to stir the pot late into the race. You know me. Rodriguez just running a great race. It's up to 1 second, but still, like you said, your math is spot on, by the way. He would have to gain at minimum 1.5 seconds. It might be a little bit higher than that, but it near as makes no difference. It's a bridge too far, like you said, but it is a nice thought. Harry Spears, though, is not going to allow him, like you said as well. But I also believe now that Rodriguez is going to get second place here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been able to grow that gap now upwards of 3.8 seconds as they run. Yeah, he only needs to gain about 2 more tenths of a second, and he is going to be in smooth sailing range for that second place position. So a great run there for Rodriguez. We close you back here on the battle in the mid-pack as they run, as we've got another time penalty being issued out by race control. Contact between the 45 and the 15. Looks like Durkop is going to give a 15-second penalty there for causing a collision.
And also, while we're talking about race control, I had it confirmed in my ear just a few moments ago that additional Boothby and Schill incident they're looking at is a completely separate incident to the big accident, DJ.
All right, so some different information there being given out. Thank you to our director and producer, Mike Yao, behind the scenes for being able to feed us that information. Under 3 minutes left to go in this race as they run. Plenty of time here still to go as we watch Chris Hartveld trying to see if he can get anything on Maria here, going into the first corner.
Hartveld down to the inside, and it's going to be a spin. Hartveld's going to get spun. 2 cars, 3 cars involved. Spinning backwards is one of them, and very nearly a follow-up incident with the orange Bentley there. That was a scary moment. Negrete involved with that, got the worst of it.
Yeah, he certainly did, and talk about a day going from bad to worse here for Chris Hartveld. Remember, he started this race on the front row, had about an 8-car gap between himself and Angelia Nostra for second in the silver category, and he is now tumbling down through the order.
Oh my goodness, checkered flag can't come soon enough when you have days like that, DJ. I know you've had them as well. It's just some days it just wasn't meant to be, and certainly for them, it'll be a day where you go back, you review the tape, and you just got to accept it. It wasn't on for you, but it has been on for the Mobileye and FFS Racing BMW. Philippe Simard has had a wild championship to this point, but might have one more shot at Whitehead here for third place. And all by the way, Rodriguez is more than clear enough to take P2. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to beat Harry Spears in the long run here. But still, Whitehead on the verge of falling off the podium maybe on the final lap.
Indeed, we're going to have to see how this plays out here in these final laps as we run it down there. Simard, as you said, trying to maybe close in on Whitehead to be able to steal away that third place as they go. A little bit of a move to the inside there for the BMW. A little bit half-hearted as he's not going to be close enough to get it as they run. And here they come, waiting to see if he's going to be able to get anything going on out of barbecue here. Oh, contact!
Oh, no!
Spiebert there!
Philippe Simard goes for a spin, the latest victim into barbecue. Gets spun around, P7, letting cars through. Now, folks, if you're racing in a league anywhere in the world, this is how you rejoin the racetrack. My hat's off to Philippe Simard.
Yeah, very kind, very courteous there, waiting for everybody to get out of the way, but absolute heartbreak there for Philippe Simard. You hate to see that, as we've been saying, the Mobileye by FFS Racing Team having such a great day. We've got to focus our eyes back here on who we anticipate to be the leader as they cross over the line, with Igor Rodriguez having that 5-second time penalty. Harry Spears bringing the car through the last couple of corners.
Yeah, Harry actually gained some on Rodriguez. I don't know if that was Rodriguez sort of backing off to make sure that they don't get track limits or what that is, but Spears definitely either turned up the wick or Rodriguez slowed down. Doesn't make a difference. It's 1 second, 4 seconds shy of where he needed to be, but it's going to be job done for Rodriguez. He's going to capture the flag, but Spears is going to take home the trophy.
Yes, he is, as they cross over the line right now. Igor Rodriguez, the one to cross over first, but it will be Harry Spears that takes victory here in the number 285 Race Anywhere Sim Sports Bentley Continental GT3. A fantastic drive with some brilliant strategy there for the 285. It looks like Whitehead not able to keep that gap nice and close. It will be Igor Rodriguez in second, with Whitehead in third as they run. Angelia Nostra, though, will be the driver to take victory in the silver category. The number 96 Porsche with Yas Heat behind the wheel. A great run there for them.
Inestrosa needed that. Inestrosa deserved that. What a race today. We were talking about it at some point being a distant second place, but oh my, what an hour's race can do. Inestrosa wins it in the silver category.
Yeah, Inestrosa putting in a fantastic run. We look back here on George Boothby, trying to see if he can get a final move done on Lou as they Acura and the Porsche go side by side down through the crocodiles, trying to see if there's going to be anything to be had here for the 75. Little bit of contact there as they work their way through Cheetah and down into the final corner. Are we going to see a big lunge here for your former leader of George Boothby, all the way back down in 33rd right now? It doesn't look like he's going to be able to get it done, and Boothby is going to have to settle for 33rd.
Well, that is the end to one of the more chaotic races that I've ever called from the commentary position. Just an incredible display of driving out there. A lot of drivers getting finishes that they so desperately needed. And I said it once, I said it twice, I'll say it again for you. Huge championship implications here.
Massive championship implications as we take a look back at the start of the race. The number 94 there of Cardinal, the HPD Yas Pro team working their way through. We were able to get through this first corner relatively cleanly here, Jesse, but once it got to the race itself, things got a little bit more jumbled up.
Yeah, things got heated. Strangely, you would think when they're four wide was where you'd see the most incidents. That wasn't the case. It was when they were paired off 2x2 Noah's Ark style, racing each other, that it really hotted up, and it really all started up at the front of the field with Boothby and Schill.
Yes, it did, and a little bit disappointing to see both of those drivers having the day that they did after running a fantastic first half of the race. But once again, we have got to give a massive, massive credit to Harry Spears. Called the strategy right, drove the race right, and as you said in the moment, Jesse, made a brilliant call to let Igor Rodriguez on by and not have to worry about that pesky Bentley in his rearview mirror.
Sometimes to win the race, you got to be able to let things go. Let that be a lesson for life.
And now joining us here in the booth, your pro class winner on the day, Harry Spears. Harry, that day looked like it really couldn't have gone more perfect for you out there.
Oh yeah, honestly. Like, I got back 5 minutes before the server opened from Goodwood, and so I was fairly underprepared, but it seemed that everyone around me just sort of took themselves out and went for poor pit strategies. And yeah, I just ended up sort of going up and up and up, and then after I came out the pits ahead of Igor, I was just like, oh my god, I could actually win this one. And from then on, it was just completely just 100% focus mode, and yeah, it all paid off in the end.
Well, it certainly did. I want to ask you a two-part question here, kind of both involving Igor as you ran. Number one, talk to me about the decision to come into the pits early that clearly paid out for you, and then the decision to let Igor on by. I assume you knew he had the 5-second penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first one about pitting at the time I did, I saw that McCormack in the EU Sprint Series, he obviously went for a massive overcut and just absolutely dominated the race as a result. So my plan was just to go for that same strategy, unless I got put in like a great big battle, which I ended up being in. So I was just like, the other guys have pitted a lap before, they probably got stuck in traffic. I might as well just take the risk and pit now, because we were losing like a second a lap. So I just went and went into the pits and came up just ahead of one of the Hondas. I was it was such a nail biter on the pit exit, because I was just like, oh my god, am I going to be ahead? Because obviously you want to put a car's gap between yourselves. So I think the pit stop as well couldn't have gone any better for me.
It certainly worked out well, and we head next time out from Kyalami to a track that I think is a little bit closer to you in the form of Donington. Is that one you're looking forward to, or how do you think it's going to go?
It's a home track, but it's actually the one I'm looking forward to least of all, because the track limit through the chicane, the Bentley, is about 1 foot narrower than the track limits, so I'm almost certainly going to get a drive-through, or 2 or 3. Or however many I get. Just, I think it's pretty much a Ferrari round for me.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world there when you get there regardless. But as for today, Harry, a race win, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, absolutely. So, thanks to my brother. I don't know if it caught on camera, but he was celebrating with me when I got my race win. And as well, thanks to Race Anywhere SimSport, my team, for giving me all this support. And just being a great bunch of guys.
Well, thank you, and congratulations again, Harry. That was an absolute treat to be able to see you drive that one out.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that was Harry Spears, your winner on the day, and I believe now we have Angelia Nostra, who was able to take victory in the silver category. And I've got to ask you, my friend, you started down in the field a little bit, looked like out of it, 8 or 9 cars between yourself up there. What was the strategy today to try to capture the win?
Just to keep up the pace, you know. So yeah, I have to say that, well, the setup and everything was thanks to George Busby. So yeah, the race went very, very well to me. The pace was really good. A little bit slower on the pit, but anyway, I got the win for the Silver Crest, and yeah, I'm really happy about it.
Well, very clearly happy indeed. And talk me through, those last couple of laps there coming in. It looked like you were sort of in the middle of a gaggle of cars as you ran. Were you fighting tooth and nail for those positions, or were you just trying to sort of hold out where you were?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes not. Well, obviously, I wanted to keep my position. But anyway, at the start of the race, I lost 2 positions, and I don't know. I tried to defend, but anyway, it was like, okay, I will let them pass. I will keep my pace and do my own race.
Well, you ran your race well, and you did it incredibly well. I've got to ask you the same question I asked to the other winners here. Looking ahead to Donington, is that a track that you're looking forward to, or is there maybe some hesitation about it?
Well, it's not a track where that I know too much, because I'm quite new to ACC. So yeah, I will have to practice a lot to get some really good pace, and yeah, I'm looking forward to get another good result.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world when you get there, my friend. Is there anybody you'd like to thank, though, for this victory in the silver class today?
Well, as I said before, the setup and everything, George helped me a lot. And yeah, thanks to him, I got a really good pace. So yeah, thanks to my team, to Just Hit. And yeah, see you on the next race.
Well, we will see you there for sure. Again, that was your silver class winner, Angelo Nostra, as he was able to go. And Jesse Lee, talk about a race there. I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to need some lozenges after that, because my voice is hoarse from hooting and hollering about it.
Well, it's actually really quite simple, DJ. We had a bunch of different winners. The strategy dictated the win, but we just didn't know what strategy was the right one. There were several different takes, and Harry Spears, was the one that did the best job. One of the first on pit road, executed the undercut perfectly. He's never going to be a driver that's going to blow your doors off or do anything flashy, but he's always been involved at the end, and he always keeps you guessing. Mr. Where did he come from? And for Inestrosa, he has come so far in such a short period of time with his ACC racing, already an SRO winner in the silver class. Absolutely excellent storylines coming out of South Africa today.
Exactly, and you heard me preview it there with some of the drivers coming up. Our next round is going to be at Donington Park. That will be July 9th here, so make sure to tune in for that. But on behalf of all of us here at the Mobileye GT World Challenge America Esports Sprint Championship, we would like to thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is DJ Clark, and on behalf of Jesse Lee and everyone else behind the scenes, until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.